Hey everybody, I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening? That cat is not in a basket, but she wants to kick it with me. So we're gonna let her do her thing. Incarnasoul, good to see you. Run with the world. Run the world. Everybody wants to run the world. Jane Aldrich, good to see you. Just Joan, Britt P, Sweet Liberty. Burnsy 25, how are you? Hey, Shelly Kelly. Shelly Kelly, I like you. Kathy Lucas, good to see you. Kristen Melinda, Sweet Liberty. Maria. Hey, Darcy. Marlo, you say some really beautiful things. Okay, don't trip. Catherine J., the nurse who loved me. Run the world again. Michelle, good to see you. Beck, how are you? Miss Chicken Shag. Miss Chicken Shag. Well, there you go. Carol Earnhardt, Sweet Liberty. Pajama Pixie. Kristen Melinda. Justine Kathy, there you are. Danette McClure. Mark, how are you, Mark? Mother Bird. Elizabeth Fraser's here. Alice Metcalf, Palumbo, Carolina, Canada. Malvakai. Malvakai, how are you? Pam, good to see you. Rhonda. Can I get some ones, please? Yeah. Can I get some ones, please? Not only did my gutters come off of the house again this winter, but I just found out we have a water leak under the house. I hate crawl spaces. I do too. And please, yeah, can we get some thoughts and prayers for that? That's a big deal because of the mold and all of that. You actually have to get that taken care of. I hate it when the little lock thing is on. I can't use my keypad. Renee B, how are you? Lynn Sanity, good to see you. Justine, how are you? Robert Hall. Kathy Lucas is here. Carolina, Canada. Maria. Oi. Shannon Trim, good to see you. The newest nut. Robert Hall. Mary E. Behrens. Oni, how are you? Love, Joy. Miss Dragon. There you are. I hope you are well. You are in my thoughts and prayers. Mary Haynes. Kestrel 42 is here. Hello, Kestrel. Hope you're having a good night. Chris Geiser. Hey there. Wild Atwood show today, huh? Yeah, right? I want to thank all of you that were over on the Atwood show today. Because I'm not going to... there's a reason I probably wasn't on in the very beginning of that show, right? You guys are sharp. There's a reason I wasn't on in the very beginning of that show. And the reason that I was not on had nothing to do with Sean Atwood. If you know what I mean. I think they wanted a very controlled environment. They did not want other people on there asking questions, right? Sure, run the world. If you want to abbreviate one up, that's fine. We don't like throwing F-bombs up there if we can avoid it because we're kind of a class act around here. But if you want to abbreviate them or do whatever, I get it. I completely get it. SMG Infinity, good to see you. Yeah, you missed me on Sean, Kathy. Well, I'll tell you what, man, this was a wild one because we had on Chris Todd and we had on Courtney Burgess. If you're new to the Diddyverse, these are a couple of big names, right? These are two guys that are a big deal in the Diddyverse because they sold both of those very controversial books. I'm going to do that for you, Carlos G. Welcome to the boat. Stick around. I promise I'm gonna. So we get on there. Yes, he's not much for answering questions, man. You saw me live with Lionel yesterday. You know what? Lyle and I need to do a show together. I have gone down an awful lot of the rabbit holes that Lionel likes to that Lionel lived through. He's older than I am, and a lot of these things he was around for. But he's a very, very he's well read. He's incredibly well read, and it's fun to be on with somebody that knows so much more than you do. That cat knows a lot more than I do. Christy Wolf, good to see you, but I know just enough on most of those subjects to be dangerous. Hey, Rose, they say a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, but we like each other's company. We get a good laugh, and he cracked a great joke about me being a convict that absolutely cracked me up. But I got back on the show today because of the appearance of Chris Todd and Courtney Burgess. Now, at the time, on the screen would have been Courtney, Chris Todd, Sean Atwood, and myself, Tommy Schofield. The beautiful thing is that the four of us have all been named in a Diddy lawsuit at one time or another, or currently are named in a Diddy lawsuit or whatever. So it's an interesting dynamic for all of us to be on there discussing this. Now, I've been real vocal about how I feel about Courtney Burgess. Now, I'm not suggesting that Courtney said to anybody, I don't want Tommy Scoville on the panel. But Courtney Burgess didn't want anybody on the panel. And I think that probably had something to do with me, because you would think if they were going to have anybody on the panel, it probably would have been me, because I was on the show in question where Courtney Burgess is now being sued over that particular show. But I think they want to control the number of questions. You understand? I understand why, right? If you're them, you can get that, can't you? Tilly, good to see you. Do me a favor, put a deuce in the chat if you know at least the backstory of these people. I want to know how far back I got to go. Put a 2 in the chat if you know the backstory of Chris Todd and Courtney Burgess. Put a 3 in the chat if I need to go all the way back and we start this puppy at the beginning. And I'm cool one way or the other, but. Mark Hardman, good to see you, Mark. Hey, Vanessa, lady. It went by really quick. Hey, Vanessa. Okay, so there are some people that are not familiar. That's okay. You don't have to be sorry. Look, I'll do the Reader's Digest version, and for those that are putting up 2s, you can put anything in the chat you feel like I'm not putting up there, because I'm going to do this quick. If you feel like I left something out that the audience ought to hear, fill in the blanks for me. You guys are professionals. You know what you're doing. Make no mistake, you know what you're doing. So here's how the story goes. Back in 2008, Shakir Stewart allegedly gave part of a manuscript that had been written by the late Kim Porter. This is alleged. The late Kim Porter had written down a bunch of stuff. And in this, there's a lot of dirt. She talks not only about being roughed up, but she also, there's references to people that Diddy is intimate with. And there are mentions of people who are underage. And Courtney Burgess met somehow Chris Todd. Chris Todd released the first book, and Courtney Burgess released a second. It's the same book, but with some redactions and a different cover. They reportedly made somewhere in the $500,000 range. Allegedly, that's what's made. $400,000, something like that. It's a lot of reasons to make up a book. I'm not saying it's made up. I'm saying the rollout was really bad. So these are the guys that put the book up that there was so much drama about. And I know there are going to be people in the chat right now who are going to say, hey, I remember that book. In fact, I bought it and didn't get a copy of it. You need to take that up with Mr. Courtney Burgess. Ozzy's mama. Good to see you, Ozzy's mama. Butterfly Lady. There's a lady on YouTube that read that book out loud. Yes, there is. And there's a lot of places that you can go and see it for free. Normally, I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff because I think the person that wrote the book should get that kind of action. However, this book is questionable, right? They, by their own admission, they don't even stand by the book necessarily. Chris Todd most assuredly does not. Like he said, one of the things that he said today that really took me back was, do you realize how much of this news that we hear every day is made up? The news about John Bonet, or the news about this, or the news about O.J. Simpson, or the news about Natalie Wood. So much of this is just made up to feed you for the views. Well, I get that. But what are you saying? Are you saying that that's what this book is? Are you justifying that? Because that doesn't seem like a great argument for, hey, man, this is all real. Now, you got to help me on this one, too. If you did happen to make it over there today, I asked some questions that were a little bit, I wasn't trying to be a jerk, right? It is, Lovejoy says, I purchased the book on Amazon for $25 and it was a couple of pages. It really is not a big book. It looks as if let's stipulate just for a couple of laughs and say, hey, this is a real book. If we just suspend disbelief and say we're all going to agree that this book is real, it's a bunch of stolen pages out of a memoir or something. It's not a book. It's like somebody wahooed a few journal entries. And one of the reasons that I've said so many times that I kind of feel like I want to believe this is true. One of the reasons that in the beginning I wanted to believe it was true was because who would screw up this bad if you were making a fake, right? You would do a better job. This is a terrible, but I think that if it's fake, then they were being so vague and so narrow so that they didn't run into people going, wait a sec, at that time she was actually here, right? Not somewhere else. All Chris Todd did was complain about the money they were losing because I'll Be Sure had the book removed from Amazon. He didn't explain how he got the book, just like Courtney didn't either. That is the truth. And my questions to them concerned that. I tried to be respectful. I tried to say, hey, I really want to believe you. But if your stories are correct, you got the book in 2008. And I couldn't get a straight answer on this. Did they say to you, if he dies, if something bad happens to me? This is the classic story from every movie we've ever seen, right? By the way, you know, Quibs and I have done this. We've done this. If something happens, here's a bunch of truth, right? Because you just don't know. Here's a package of all of the stuff. People do this. But there's nobody that I ever gave any of this to that doesn't know exactly what they would do with this and how fast they would do it, who they would reach out to. You don't just go, hey, here, take this. Why? I just want you to have it. You're kind of trustworthy. He says he never met the woman. He doesn't know Kim Porter, and he never did. Then why did she trust you with this? And the question that I asked, and the question that I still want answered is, yeah, the flash drives went along with it. The question that needs to be answered is this. Did she say to you, as you led us to believe in the beginning, if anything bad happens to me, here's what you need to do? Because if that's the case, he got this in 2008. She died in 2018. 2018. I was told there'd be no math. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Right, what? 6 years? First surgery is Monday morning. Follow-ups weekly. People, this is one of my favorite people on the lifeboat. Can we get some thoughts and prayers for Miss Dragon? And if you got a wrench, put some links up to her channel as well, because she does really funny shorts and she does a lot of really positive stuff, and we love her big times. And she needs our thoughts and prayers. And if you fire stuff off of your stomach like a Care Bear or whatever it is that you do, this is one of the crew that keeps the boat afloat, and a great mod, and we love her. Thank you. I want to know, when she dies, how do you have this evidence, right, and not do something with it? She didn't die of natural causes, right? She didn't die of something that wouldn't leave you going, wait a second, she was 40. She's in her 40s, and she magically gets this and is gone days later. Didn't that flip your holy crap, this is why she gave me this meter? Thank you, Winchester. As I said, I'm a big fan. Well, what is wrong with my computer? Hold on, people, bear with me. Yes, there we go. Here it is. Plus, she supposedly gave him the book 10 years prior to her death. A lot more could have happened in those years. Well, but with the death, and here's the other thing. Suspension of disbelief. You follow me? Look, sometimes you just got to go, that doesn't make sense. And I know I'm already getting hate mail because I said that some of the stuff that people say about the tunnels doesn't make sense. I'm not going to lie to you so that the audience likes me more. If something doesn't make a lot of sense to me, I'm going to say this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I'm going to assume that there's a lot of other people for whom this doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not calling anybody a liar. A lot of trauma involved, right? I'm just saying that a lot of the stuff that's said doesn't always make sense. And this here makes this much sense, or is it that much sense? You give somebody something and you say, hey, if anything bad ever happens to me, you need to let this get out to the press. You're going to go home. You're going to put that away and you're not going to look at it until they pass away. Is that right? Seriously. Put a 2 in the chat if you're such a stand-up cat that you weren't going to go home and look at that. Put a 3 in the chat if you're me. Because I'm going home and I'm going, all right, pop that into the flash drive. What am I holding on to? Is this something that's going to get me killed? You're asking me to hold on to something that's obviously a big freaking deal, right? So I think I'd like to know what's on it. Is this in some way threatening my life? Because I'm telling you, people, I'm not buying the fact that in 2018, when she dies, you don't go, okay, now I really got to look at it. You're a stand-up cat. You don't want to betray this woman's trust. When she passes away, why didn't you look at it? Well, I was sick in 2018. 3 really horrific months. 3 months. 3 months? Were you so sick for that 3 months that you went, I'm not going to look at this, even though someone who handed this to me and said, if something bad happens to me, something bad just happened to her, and you didn't look at it, I don't buy that. That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not mad at anybody, man. Hey, KP in Arizona. I hope you're feeling better. Can we get some ones for our friend in AZ? Long week of being sick. Well, I am sorry to hear that. You know what, Lisa Love? I love that. Lisa Love says if they made me promise and they're diehard friends, I could do it. I respect that. I couldn't. And it might be the convict in me. You know what I mean? It's like when somebody says to you, you know, they would say sometimes, you need to bring something to the shoe for us. You're going to bring a message to somebody that's in the segregated housing unit. And the way you do that is they give you a piece of paper and you put it in a chapstick container or something like that, and you take it to the hoop, right? You put it somewhere where the sun doesn't shine. So when they strip you out, you still got it. Then you get to the back, you drop out your message, and you bring the kite to somebody. But I'm not bringing that back if I don't know what it says. How do I know that what I'm bringing back there and handing to them doesn't say, hey, stab rock, right? I could be ordering my own head. And I don't know a convict that's going to pass a letter for somebody that they didn't read. And if somebody said something is heavy duty. Now, if you're a great person like our friend Lisa Love, and I believe her, by the way. Hey, Lisa Love, what would you have done when she died? You sounded respectful while asking your questions and got big fat nothing back from Courtney and Chris. That in itself was very revealing. You know, it's funny that you say that, Shivani, and I think you're very wise. Because somebody said to me earlier, pretty depressing to go on there and ask great questions and not get an answer. And I said, oh, I got an answer. I got an answer. I got word salad. They tap danced. They did everything possible to not answer the question. And that in and of itself is an answer, to be sure. And Lisa Love says, no, I get that. Meaning in 2018, when she meets her end by getting a lobar pneumonia, right? Came on like that, and she was gone like that. Allegedly, he had already ordered her coffin, right? Months in advance. You've heard this, right? Yeah. Did she ask me to do, right? What did she ask me to do? She asked me to do something for her if something bad happened to her. So he gets sick. Let's say he gets sick for a year. You're still not going to look at it? She passed away. You have to be thinking to yourself, oh my God, did someone kill her? Who was the person that killed her? I'll bet it's in that stuff they gave me. I'll wait till 2023. Or according to him, he hasn't seen it yet. And you know why he says that? Come on. Somebody help me out with this. You're a very, very smart audience. You do know why, right? He can't say, I looked at it. Because if what he alleges is in there, then the whole world is going to go, why didn't you hand that over to the authorities the second you saw it? Because he alleged that there's images on there of Bieber and Diddy. Now, if that's the truth, then those needed to be handed over. That's right, Goosebump. That's right. Because it's illegal to possess those, man. It's illegal to possess those. And Ann from Massachusetts says plausible deniability. If he could get them to believe that he has not seen it. But I don't think that, well, there is a lot of truth to this, right? Fully believe the average IQ of this audience is about 10 points higher than the general population. And you know what? That's a good one. Gail says, is my nickname Toots? It is with a group of a handful of folks who started that about 3 years back, telling the world that I'm addicted to blow, which is not what my drug of choice was, but they had a pretty good time with it, Gail. It's not my nickname. My nickname was Rock, as Rocco. That was my nickname normally. Question, Tommy, why does Courtney want to meet Puffy in jail to talk? Well, nothing that Courtney says do you get a real answer on, right? It's frustrating to try to have some kind of a dialogue with Courtney or with Todd. And at least with Chris Todd, his agenda doesn't seem mysterious. And I don't mean any disrespect to Chris Todd, but he spelled it right out, didn't he? He said, look, man, this should have sold millions of copies. He's bummed out that this book didn't get pushed the way that this was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? What he really wanted more than anything is for this book to get pushed the way that he thought it deserved. And I would imagine, I'm sorry, but I would imagine in their meetings before this went, couldn't you see him sitting in a circle going, this is going to be on the New York Times bestseller list? Are you kidding me? This is going to be the biggest phenomenon that ever happened. And they're not wrong. It could have been. It could have been. My questions kept getting back to, hey, what's up with the rollout? And what's up with if they had just said in the beginning, we're not answering any questions at all, where we got it, what the instructions were that they gave to us, we're not answering any of that. But you come on and you do a show and you say, well, I got it from Chris Todd. No, I didn't. From Shakira Stewart. I got it from, and you just start listing off. By the time you get to the third name, your credibility is kind of gone, right? It was very, Tommy, he wants to catch up with you. This is a question that I have for all of you, in all honesty. Is the egg test like an actual egg? Allegedly, Burnsy, that's exactly what it is. Allegedly, the egg test is a boiled egg that someone bends over and then gets inserted into the person's rectum. If the egg breaks, I guess for whatever reason, they don't want someone to be tight back there. Doesn't sound particularly logical. Anyway, if it happens, you have to go back and put in more work. Now, here's the thing. It sounds ridiculous, and you hear it from Suge Knight. And there's a lot of people on earth that say if Suge Knight's mouth is moving, he's lying, right? You'll hear a lot of people say the guy's hard to believe. So maybe he's playing, right? But then you see pictures of people holding eggs, and it's like, what are the odds? What the hell are you doing holding an egg, right? It just seems like this is too real not to be real. Does that make sense? And then do you remember the clip of film where you see Diddy and he's talking to, who's he talking to? You're looking good there, Daddy, right? Putting that work in, right? You putting that work in. Hey, you looking good, Daddy. You putting that work in. Was that Maze? Who was that? Who did he do that with? I don't know, but whoever it was, they freaked out about it. Someone's going to tell me really quickly. You know what, folks? You know, it is disgusting, is it not? And speaking of disgusting, new meaning to order Grand Slam at Denny's. Nice. Well played. I love a good Denny's reference. Meek, thank you. He was with Meek Mills. You putting that work in, Daddy. Now, do you think he meant that Meek was putting work in? Or what exactly does that mean? Because I'll tell you what. I just wanted to say that in case it ends up in a lawsuit. I want to see Sean Atwood read it later. Put it up the tailpipe. All right, people. I'm going to bring in a friend of mine. Doesn't get enough love around here. He's been doing a ludicrous amount of work on the lifeboat, and I'm sorry. Thank God it's not an ostrich egg. Boy, that's really putting work in there, man. That is putting work in. Now, put down your vape. You got to say this when you got a friend you're bringing in, right? You give them the countdown and go, hey, there'll be no vaping, because later on they'll say that you were, hitting the hookah. Oh, there he is.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
I can. Hold on. Let's do this like the there you go. Look at that.
Oh,
good God, you're better looking at distance. No, I'm kidding. How did it go? Went well?
what, my tattooing?
Yes. Your day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, always well. Yeah, day was good. Tattooed all day. It was fun.
You know, the chat's going so quick. This is the one that I was trying to get, though. Quail egg, please. Bring out one of those little eggs. Pretty horrific stuff. Hey, Meredith Lynn, good to see you. Glad you're here. Did you happen to catch the Sean Atwood program earlier?
I did. I listened to it with my customer earlier today.
Did your customer think you're
quite
crazy?
a show. What's that?
Does your customer think you're crazy when you're cranking up the Diddy verse and listening to the Sean Atwood program?
Yeah. I don't think I don't even really know if she knew who Diddy was for real. And I'm not just saying that, but yeah, she was younger. She's probably 21. Yeah, I think she kind of knew who it was, but I filled her in, and she's like, "Wow, that's crazy." I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "And you talk about that?" I was like, "Yeah, all the time."
Do me a favor, put a deuce in the chat if you think that I should hook up with Mr. Todd and do an interview or talk to him, or maybe write a book together or find a book together. I'm kidding. And if you think that would be a bad idea for me to link up with Mr. Todd, you can go ahead and put a 3 in the chat. So a 2 if you want me to get together with Mr. Todd, and a 3 if you think it might not be such a good idea. What do you think, Casper?
I don't know enough about him. But I know I've seen him before. How big is his channel?
I honestly can't answer the channel question because
or does he have a channel?
What I know of him doesn't come from that, but he has been he's written about a lot of things, but always they are sensational, right? He thinks that there was more than one person that did the attack on Gretna Green for the O.J. Simpson thing. See, this is a lot of people are saying exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's where I've seen him.
That is where you've seen him. He talks a lot, and he also talks a lot about the Natalie Wood case. He's written about that and about who is really responsible for Natalie Wood.
Like Robert Conrad and Natalie Wood.
That was it Conrad.
Robert.
No.
Robert.
Yeah.
The guy from Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name though. I can't
either.
So
I love that
conspiracies. Dude. So this guy does a lot with conspiracies.
Robert Wagner. Thank you. God, I love this crew, man.
This is a great crew, isn't it? There's a lot of people that say he kind of comes off like a spoiled child. I'm not going to argue this because I think that, I've heard enough people in my audience say it. I'm not going to sit and, but I want to say something. Whether or not you love him or not, I think that there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I'm not trying to sound like Billy Bass or any of that, but sometimes people don't want to ask the questions. And I do. I absolutely want to ask the dude the questions because the origins of the book, he several times he comes and says, hey, doesn't really matter where it comes from. Oh, that's the whole thing for me. I'm sorry.
He said that a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did it come from? Because if you made this up, this is something that
and twice I said out loud a question I wanted while you guys were talking. I said out loud a question, and right when I said it, you asked the question, and I was like, "That's my dude, man. We're on the same page."
Right. I think that I probably did that because of every time I bring this stuff up, you guys, everybody here asks questions, and the ones where I go, damn, I would love to have that answered. I even did a thing once where I said, you got any questions you want me to ask Courtney Burgess if I ever get a chance at him? Yeah, I think, Kathy, I do think I was making them squirm. This is funny. To be really honest, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Mr. Todd, but we've all kind of been in a place, especially if you do this for a living, you'll get in a place where you might be a little bit uncomfortable. And very often it's easy to go, hey, Casper, I don't know whether or not I've told you this, but I'm a huge fan of your work. Like if you show up and start asking me questions that I don't love, I can go, you and I need to work together. I'm a fan of your work. And I'm not saying that that's what he was doing, but that's what he was doing.
Well, when he said that, I thought to myself, oh, cool. I mean, it's good to work with as many people as you can, in a sense, sort of speak. But yeah, I definitely remember him from OJ now. Actually, I think he was in a couple OJ documentary things.
He's been prolific over the years. Here's the thing. Up until this one, I never saw the guy come off looking like he does in this. This is the optics of this are bad. And the reason I asked everybody is because I'm pretty I like to be in tune with what all of you think I should
be. Was there a lot of twos I didn't see?
Yeah, but the more than anything, I think people think I should probably stay away, right? But I would just like to kind of hold somebody's feet to the fire. I'd like to hear some, and I know, unfortunately, what we're going to get, and I've gotten this with Jag before too, and you can't really push this. If somebody says, now we're getting to the point where if I answer this question, I'm probably putting myself in jeopardy. Number one, there's no way to verify if that's the truth or not. Number two, I wouldn't want to be the cat to try to verify if that's the truth or not. I'm not trying to ask questions that are going to get somebody hurt. I'm not. But it sounds to me like there's a whole lot I would ask where I would get, I can't answer that. Chris Todd wanted to completely control the narrative. Tommy, you drilled down on him and he didn't like it. I think that probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, and there was before you came on, he was like answering for Courtney a lot. And he was like, yeah, tell him this, Courtney. And Courtney, he was kind of had his back, and it like gave Courtney like he was validating him. So Courtney felt validated because this fool, saying whatever, agreeing with him or telling him whatever. And so Courtney kind of got a little cocky there, and it felt ugly. And I could even tell by the look on Sean's face. And he's just wants to keep the peace,
right.
And not just so much the peace, but like everyone has a platform to talk where they're not going to get beat up too bad. You might be questioned and asked, what's the proof? Where did you get it? To whatever. But he doesn't want anyone to be like, you know what? F you, Courtney. You're a POS liar. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. And I wouldn't want to do that. We don't want to come at people like that if we believe them or not. And that's what I love about your show, Rock, is that but because you're right. We don't want to come from a place of hate ever, no matter what. And I think Reese said a lot of amazing things tonight at the end of her show, man. Oh my God. Like if we could you imagine if and I'm not trying to be on my soapbox and talk about the entire world right now, because it'd be impossible. But just imagine, a friend of mine who passed away, he was a singer-songwriter named Kevin Gilbert. He had this song called Joytown. And Joytown was where everything was perfect, where your junkie roommate didn't steal your things, where Martin Luther King had a blonde, white, girlfriend. It was like this, and nobody cared, and it was like this amazing song. And what a perfect world if it could be, if it was like Joytown, like my friend Kevin used to talk about. He dated Sheryl Crow, by the way, too.
Oh, nice.
Before she was famous. He actually wrote a lot of her music, and then he passed away, and she didn't acknowledge him at the Grammys, not one bit. But anyway, I digress.
I don't believe for a second that Courtney is a Mason. I'm sorry, I don't. There were some very simple things that were said. No, he's not. So that was one of the questions that I had up earlier. If you want to talk to Todd, Tommy, then you should talk to Todd. I thought a lot more of him before the Courtney Burgess thing. See, that's me. Here's the thing about
Yep.
Chris Todd. Chris Todd had a career, and in all honesty, I was kind of
I love her.
enamored with the dude. I really am. I was enamored with the dude prior to this. You know what? Your ears must be burning, honey, because Casper was just saying really fantastic things about the end of your show tonight, which I thought was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I missed the end of your show tonight, but I'm going to go back and catch it afterwards. I had to get ready to do this. And this is a good point. Chris Kaiser says, Sean is a true English gentleman. He did a good job. You know, he's not, he isn't going to barrel roll somebody. We kind of joke about it if you've been on his show before. You do the work. He's a guy that will ask you a question and then let you talk. And that's a hard thing to do as an interviewer. And he's very good at it. Did Chris Todd kind of take over? Chris Todd will take over the lifeboat if I have him here too. He's a guy that he's got a routine.
He would try to.
He would try to.
And I'm not trying to swing off your nuts, Tommy, but you're kind of a force, you know, especially when you're talking about something you know everything about. So
I appreciate that. And you know what? I would like to hold his feet to the fire. And I am probably going to reach out, people. What I would not want to do with him, honestly, what I would not want to do with him is have is do a whole lot of talking with him unless we were live. I don't want to hear a story that I can't tell.
Oh yeah,
it's going off your nuts. It's kind of like leg riding. You know, it's kind of like saying brown nosing, but the fellas say it a little different. I'm not trying to swing off your nuts here or anything. You know,
my bad.
Funny? You know, no. Here's the thing. I was cracking up. So I've heard the interview that he did with the guard now, all of it, like the stuff that he cut out because they were talking about what prison they were at or whatever. But that fool uses there's so much language that I've forgotten, and he'll say something and I'll be like, oh man, that's funny. You know, like I've lost a lot of prison lingo. You don't realize it until you start hearing people speak it again, and you go, "That's so funny." But that all that was cracking me up. And I talked to a guy sent me an email, and we did some voice texting back and forth on Messenger. And he was telling me a story about a yard he was on, and he said these guys started going at it. He said there was brake pads and dust flying everywhere. So he beat the brakes off him, did he? Fluid was squirting all over the place.
You know what I heard today? Book and whammers.
Book and whammers.
Yeah.
Was it me that said it? Because I may have said that.
Did you say it today? Oh, okay.
I may have dropped a book of whammer. I may have dropped a. That's a terrible expression. I'm sorry. That was the most respectful I've seen Chris. He's usually quite arrogant. You know, I think that this is a frustrating thing for him because let's be really honest. He probably should have made a lot more money on this. If this is purely a hustle, and I'm not saying it is, but if this guy's a con man and this was a con, then boy, he missed the mark. He's looking at that 400K and going, God help us, that should have been millions of dollars. And if it hadn't been blocked, but had they, I don't see, if I have this thing, I just keep getting back to the same stuff. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but you didn't look at that when she passed away. Somebody handed you something and said, if something bad happens to me, you need to hand this out. She passes away and you don't even pop it into your hard drive to see exactly what's on that zip drive. I am not buying that. Are you buying that?
No, but I did. And I hate saying that. I kind of felt that I was teetering, and I leaned a little bit more on that. It is some that it might be real. Is his answer when he said, oh, that was the question I was thinking to ask, and you asked it. Who handed you the book? What was the situation?
Right.
And he says, he's like, man, I was in the right place at the right time. That's a pretty good answer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like I really can't say, but just put it this way. I was in the right place at the right time. I don't know. That came off more genuine than anything I've ever heard him say. Now, does it mean Kim Porter handed it to him at the right place at the right time, or whoever he says did, or whatever? Whatever.
They've said everybody handed it to him, right? The problem is that they've said everybody handed it to him. And there's also a story that it was handed out in 3 parts and somehow the thing then magically came back together. But I got to keep coming back to this. I hand you something and we're homeboys, man. Like we've done time. I hand you something and I go, yo, Casper, if something bad happens to me, right? You need to release this thing. More than likely, when I drive down the parking lot, you're going to pop it in to see what I handed you. You know, unless I said to you, I really don't want you to do that. In which case, you'd wait until I was at least 15 minutes away before you'd pop it in there.
It would happen the same day. Put it that way.
Of course it would. And I would do the same thing to you, you know, and then I'd lie to you and tell you that I didn't. And I would never betray you or anything else. But you don't know what's in there. For all you know, I'm putting stuff in there that could get you a 45-year sentence. You ain't going to. There's not a convict on earth or even a gangster on earth that's just going to hold on to evidence without having some kind of an idea of what the evidence is. And if you did, if you're that solid a cat, like if you pee ice cubes, anyway, if that's you, when she passes away, you still don't take a look at it? You wait another 6 years? I don't buy it, man. It doesn't make any sense.
We know where Courtney's heart is, and the heart never lies. And from everything he's shown the world, he opened that up immediately. If that's what really went down, if it's not something him and someone else came up with or whatever, I don't know. I don't know enough to speak anymore.
I'm looking at it at least. So look again, see, like Lisa Love, before you got here, Lisa Love said, I can hold on to it. If the person told me whatever you do, don't look at it. Lisa Love's solid enough where she could do that. And I do believe her. She says, I'm dying with secrets. But if I told Lisa Love, if something happens to me, you need to release this. You need to do something with it. When I die, I promise you, Lisa Love is going to look at it. So would anybody else. But to this day, he says, I still haven't looked at it, which is a problem because you came on and told us what was on it. There's been so much of this stuff, right? I got it from
Matt Cox.
I got it from Kim. Yeah, Matt Cox tore him up.
Yeah, Matt Cox said, well, you were looking at CP then. Yeah. And then he says, I never looked at it.
And
which makes me think.
Yeah.
Then maybe
it's real.
It's real. If he wants to change his story like that, or he doesn't want to come off as a weirdo too. So who knows?
One or the other. And Casper nailed this, right? The fact that he pivoted his story to protect himself from the CP means that it's either CP or the damage that's going to be done by just the reputation of it. And I don't think that's it. Because if he was only worried about the reputation of it, he probably would have swapped out his license plate about 2 years ago. Because the guy drives a Lamborghini that says pizza on the license plate, right? So if it was an image thing, I think maybe there was some CP on that. And he's a little bit worried that
that's really? He has a Lambo, like in real life?
No, he's got a no-joke Lamborghini. I've seen it. It's his. It's not a joke. No. Not regular doors. So like a Gallardo kind of whatever. I think it's
Oh, it's got a Volkswagen engine in it?
Right. No, right. Exactly. It's a Fiero stretched to half a foot. It's got a 351
headrest.
I know this car. No, he's got a legit Lambo. The license plate, though, this is the reference I was making yesterday. Is he a liar? Oh, I'm sorry, that says lawyer. I'd go either way on it. Hey, is my girl still here? I love Reese. She would have liked that reference. Horton Fissel, thoughts and prayers for you, man.
Hey, homie. I got to get one of those hats. There's a really good company that makes those really good hats.
Kangol?
Yeah. Well, aside from Kangol, there's one that
this is
makes them for the Fighting Irish, like the.
Oh, nice. This one here is Stetson. I got this from the old Ball and Chain.
Oh, nice. Swedish fish.
Love those. Do you know what's funny? When I left prison on the bank robbery deal, that was the first thing I ate. I got into the rent-a-car and there was a bag of them there. And I was like, holy God, look at that. I must have eaten 2 pounds of them. Hello, Jana. Good to have you here. Boston Skulls, says Jana. Boston Scully. Okay. Scully.
Oh, that's it. Oh, man. This is almost like
Melinda, you learn something new every day. See, Stetson does not just make cowboy hats. And
we should open up a search browser.
booking a whammer is a euphemism or it's fellatio. It's an expression the fellas use in prison if they catch somebody in the act of doing that.
He was in there booking whammers.
They caught so and so down in the rec yard booking a whammer. He and the guy who was with her been rolled up. Am I missing a hat? No. Some big beefy dude claims he's missing a hat. Bump. Sorry. It's just fun. Well, we didn't come up with any of these. These are all expressions that have been around for so long. You're addicted to unicorn cotton candy. I'm addicted to cotton candy as well. What do you say? I am. It's one of my favorite things on planet Earth. But I like the pink cotton candy. I've never had.
I got some fruit punch cotton candy the other day. I didn't like it.
No, it's they have the blue and then they have the pink, or they have the stuff that mixes it up or whatever. They put in blue raspberry, but the pink is the only one, and I can eat. I have a
Me
problem.
too. I have a little. Go ahead.
No, I was putting that up. Look at that. Swedish fish. Allison Metcalf Bullenbach. He's necking on the.
That and old man candy.
You're still rocking the old man candy.
I got a fresh bag tonight. That's
a pickup line around my girl. You know what I mean? Like, I got hard candy as a. She really has a thing for old dudes, and that's usually. When
you get sweet, you got to get the mini Swedish fish or the tails. Either get the Swedish tails or the little sweet, because they stay fresher longer. And see how soft this is? Super soft.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Excellent stuff.
I like the Mega Smarties too.
Someone asked me this, Lisa Miller. Someone asked me this. I do remember Jag saying, making reference to having a piece of the book at one time. And we could verify the year by that. I don't doubt. I'm not doubting the timeline too much on this. But if he got it anytime from 2000 and whatever to 2018, the problem becomes you held on to CP. And people that do that don't stop doing that. The kind of people that the creeps on this planet that R-word and essay and they never stop doing it. It's a never-ending cycle, which means if you sat on that stuff for 10 years, right, or 12 years, or if you got it in 2008, right, that's a long time to sit on something. How many more victims, right, might have been stopped if that had gotten released? And I know that is not, I know that's probably not a popular or a nice thing to say, but it's the truth, right? And it's a question that has to be asked. That's where you hold someone's feet to the fire, because like you said, the story changed. At one time, he was coming on saying he had just left the grand jury. Guess what's on this? And then our boy from that convict called him out on it. No, I'm kidding. I like him.
Yeah, convict. There was another thing too, when old boy said, or Courtney's like, I'll be sure introduced his
right.
No, they didn't introduce him. Diddy stole her from Albie Shore, right? That's the feeling I got.
No, it's exactly what happened. It's an odd way to bring it up. Yeah, I mean at some point he made an introduction to the two of them, but there was also a little bit of weird victim shaming, right? Like, well, those victims, what about them? They're not talking. Man, don't do that. That's it. This is the wrong year to be doing that. Again, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but that's because everybody ought to know these numbers. 63% of people who are SA'd will never report it. They'll die without ever telling anybody. Now multiply into that Diddy's fame, all of his money, the rumors of the people that have met really weird deaths because of it, and all of that, and throw that in, and your numbers get smaller and smaller. Not to mention the fact that allegedly at the end of all of these things, he comes in with the threat. I'll kill you, I'll kill your family, or I'll do whatever. No one's going to believe you anyway, blah, blah, blah. And if I'm not mistaken, right, somebody sent me a text, and I have not watched the beginning of that. I didn't watch it because I mean, just to be really honest with you, I didn't expect him to answer a lot of questions. I remembered that crazy show he had done. So I really wasn't watching. And somebody sent me a text message that said, he is claiming he's a victim of Diddy, right? Like, and I don't know if that's
all of a sudden he's been poisoned too now.
Yeah, poisoned, shot, stabbed, beaten, thrown from a moving car, and apparently somehow survived also being run over by a riding lawnmower. I'm making that up. Please don't print that. I'm being a wise guy. But he did say he was shot. He did say he was poisoned. He's not having a good run.
Has he said that before, the poison thing?
No, all that was the first time I heard it tonight. That is the first time. And that's what I said tonight, right? My first super chat said, if you had told us these things in the beginning, right, we would have a very different conversation right now.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, that's not what you said in the beginning. We didn't hear any of this stuff about Diddy. When he said that I was out, says Tilly, it's really weird, right? It's very, very strange that I said it. I don't know how many different ways tonight when I was on there with him. The story keeps changing, and you've lost the credibility. And he said his argument is, we can't tell you the whole thing, right? Everybody will be in jeopardy. This is how this has to be done. I'm sorry, that doesn't pass the smell test. If you and I were to sit down right now, right, in the exact same situation, I come to you, I go, Casper, here's the deal. I got another book. This is legit. This is, this is the from whoever, some victim in this who's no longer with us. And I said, we need to roll this thing out, but we don't want anyone to know where we got it from. We would have a bulletproof statement. We'd come out and say, listen, we can't tell you where we got this, right? We can't do that. Now, when I asked him that tonight, he goes, well, that's what we did say. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's a whole bunch of stories about where he got it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, man.
He said a few interviews ago he solved the biggest cold case in the world. What case was that? If I had to guess, I'd probably say John Benet Ramsey. I don't know that there's a bigger cold case than that. Can you think of one?
Who said that?
Chris Todd said a few interviews back that he had solved the biggest cold case in the world. I'm guessing he means John Benet Ramsey.
Has that been solved?
Not to the best of my knowledge, but
or
he made some references tonight to the fact that he's working on that. Or OJ. Oh, well, the problem with OJ is nobody really thinks of OJ as an unsolved case. Madeleine McCann is. Nobody really thinks of OJ as an unsolved case. OJ killed his wife. I mean, there may be some details or whatever, but I mean, honestly, put a 3 in the chat if you think OJ did not kill his wife. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he bumped her off. Because
that's an easy,
right? I mean, how hard is that one? I don't know that anybody on earth views that as an unsolved crime.
There's that story where that there was a couple people involved with him.
Right. And one of the arguments is a guy his age, even to overpower, there were 2 people there. Ron Goldman's in really good shape. He's a much younger dude or whatever. You know what? All that goes out the window. That sounds really fantastic. The blade allegedly, right, was like 7 inches long. I mean, you cut someone here with that, and all of that's done. I mean, you were saying when you're done in seconds. It's just,
you're not even if you weren't, if that's the first time you've been involved in any kind of violence like that, you're
the adrenaline
running like hell or something.
Vision starts doing this. Your vision starts doing this one.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. I had this conversation with someone the other day, and I'm not being funny, but when you get older, you get past 20, 22, 23, the odds that you're going to be getting into a lot of fistfights are probably pretty small. Most people have left that kind of foolishness in their past. But if you end up somewhere where that's not much of a choice and you're going to be getting into fistfights, you do change with how that happens. The first couple that you get into are a very different experience than the last couple that you get into.
Absolutely, 1000%.
Yeah. He claimed he solved it. Well, that's good. And I do think the guy does good research. I don't think Chris Todd is a joke. But this was handled so poorly that it's making people think that he is, and that's kind of sad.
whose the ghostwriter? Whose name is on the front of that pamphlet? I mean,
Would that
book.
be Jamal? Is that the name? Is that the name? That
Jamal.
supposedly is Jamal Millwood, or so. That's the name that Tupac Shakur allegedly is out there living under. You know how like he's not dead and neither is Elvis. Well,
yeah.
Tupac's out there and he's living under the name Jamal.
Of course he is, Jamal.
Yeah. The 911 calls Nicole made weeks before about the domestic violence were absolutely horrific, Elizabeth Fraser. Some of the worst things to listen to because you're listening to somebody that's calling their own death before it happens is really tough. Yes, this is probably, and you know what? A lot of us, I think, become guilty of this. This is something that happens to people. Todd solving cold cases is his way of endorsing his own speculations and theories, in my opinion. Yeah, if they go into court and they go, "Hey, this person
That's
and this
awesome.
person, we're charging them,"
I like
all
that
of a
comment.
sudden, yeah, that's a great comment, right?
Mhm.
It's not necessarily factual. As far as the John Bonet case, I was watching the behavior panel. Now, let me plug this because every time I talk about this, I love the behavior panel. I think it's one of the best shows out there. But they did a thing where they were showing Patty
Ramsey.
Patty Ramsey while she was being interviewed, and they asked her a question concerning the handwriting stuff. And you can watch her pupils dilate. You can watch the panic. There was something there that wasn't right. And it's not, it doesn't prove anything, right? Other than it's really something weird to look at. And it's worth looking at. Tommy, did you see superseding indictments coming in February? I'll tell you what. I think that right now the prosecution is probably seeing how they're going to look. They're going to drop the enterprise letter on the first day of February. And boy, am I excited about that. But they're going to drop that enterprise letter. Once that drops, everybody's going to be going 5,000 miles an hour because at that point, this isn't speculation. We're not going, well, he's being charged with this, this, and this. It's like saying, I'm charging Casper with drug dealing. Okay. Well, then on February 1st, I say, I'm charging Casper for selling 9 kilos of cocaine to a woman named Virginia. He did it on the corner of 4th and McGovern Street. He did it at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. That's what they're going to do. So the defense is going to go buck wild trying to get all of that put together, and they're going to start asking for things. And if the prosecution gets nervous that they're not going to be able to pull this off, then they're going to hit with the superseding indictments, and that Cinco de Mayo date is going to get pushed out. This is my opinion, folks, only an opinion. If, however, they feel like they got this thing under control, maybe they don't. In fact, maybe they just keep that stuff back there as an insurance policy, right? Something goes wrong in this first one, they could indict him the next day on the second ones.
Yeah. So my superseding indictments were after all the drug trafficking. There was at the very last minute too, and we're talking like 2 years later, was money laundering for all the Western Unions I was sending to Mexico.
Yeah.
And they and then they used those as they tried to use as bargaining chips yeah.
Superseding indictments suck. The fellows,
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, the fellows, especially like in the state facility that I was in, they have a form, and the name of the form is ad book, right? It's an additional booking form. And I remember when I got popped for the bank robbery, I had ad books come underneath the cell door. I'm not joking you. Every single night for probably 3 weeks. Like I would wake up in the morning and go, look off the top bunk on the floor and go, shit. Be like 8 of them down there, and you got to jump down and go, oh my God. Like they just kept coming one after another. It got so depressing. And I swear to you, dude, they so easily could have put all these on one piece of paper, but they're breaking your spirit. They really are. It's like you go, oh God, thank God. 2 days went by, I had nothing. I'm like, well, we can laugh about it now. I mean, it's bad, but it's not too bad. And then boom, they started coming again. I'm like, all right, dude, cut me a deal. I'm gonna get out of here. This sucks.
That's what you get for being a degenerate, dude.
I was too. Oh man, I remember sitting in the shoe and talking about. We're telling our stories, and we're both just like shaking our head at each other. Yeah,
You're a piece of shit.
You are awful, bro. What's wrong with you? Why does anyone like you? Some rugged times, man. Did you miss
So
the whole
fun,
stream?
though.
No, DNV. You haven't missed the whole stream. We're still live. You're good. You're good. You're good. Yeah, but it was funny too because I was on there today and it occurred to me as I was looking around, everybody there's had been mentioned in a Diddy lawsuit. Chris Todd, Courtney Burgess, myself, and English Sean have all been named. We need to get you in there. Start smutting them up a little bit, right?
Oh, done and done.
Done and done. Drop a few allegedlys. Could I expand on the library in prison? Absolutely. So the biggest thing about the library in prison is that it is a complete, 100% complete and up-to-date law library. But that's only on a computer. So you're not seeing any of the law books other than a couple. You'll get like
that were there from before the
Georgetown,
computers.
right? Or
Yeah.
it's the Georgetown Sentencing Guideline book, which is about this thick. And they do keep printing that one every year, but they don't really print anything else anymore. So, but it's all of that is on the computer. So a person who's trying to work on their case. Other than that, the way the library is usually built is by people who donate books, and that happens. But more importantly, like when you and I were there, we're ordering books all the time. We're getting books sent in. And when you leave, they're only going to let you take a couple with you. So you leave 20 or 30 books on the book cart when you go. And that's how the libraries build and grow, is by us ordering off of discount books or bargain books. You left me Shadowram. You left me Shadowram. Great book. I've recommended it on here so many times. It's a fantastic book. And then the other one you left me was Unlondon. And Unlondon was absolutely like, there hasn't been a book written like that since Alice in Wonderland. If you ever come across Unlondon, it is he has the same kind of a feel as Lewis Carroll. It's an amazing book. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you ever get to read part 2 of Shanaram? It's called like Mountain something or yeah.
It's the Black Book. I read that. I didn't like the second one nearly as much as I liked the first one.
No, not even close.
The first one, the cab driver.
Cab driver was my dude. That was my guy.
No spoiler alerts because a lot of people here have this on their their book list to read. But
dude, man, I just remember reading and just laughing out loud at all the cab driver scenes. Every scene was good with him, man.
Yeah, no, every scene was fantastic. That's such a life-changing book.
Yeah. As I'm shooing away cockroaches out of my ear, I was reading Shanaram.
That's exactly how it went down. And you know what? I'm not trying to great scene, but this is the truth. When you were getting ready to pack all your crap out to leave, you were like, dude, I'm going to leave you this book. And you're like, hand it off to somebody, but make sure they realize what an important book this is, what a big deal this is. So I took it with me. I didn't leave it there. I took it to Lewisburg, and I left it with a homeboy in Lewisburg. And I know that baby is dog-eared and tore up, and it's getting passed around.
Yeah, man, that's good. I'm glad it ended up in Lewisburg, man.
Yeah, that's where it ought to be.
That makes me happy, actually.
Prison library. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can, and it is one of the kindest things that you can do. For real. Contact any of the local prisons or jails. They will appreciate that more than you can know. For a lot of people, the only thing that keeps you sane in there is your ability to leave for blocks of time. There was a series called the Saxon series. Did you ever read that?
Yeah.
Come
on, man.
That took up about a year of my life.
Yeah, dude.
Historical fiction. It's the only kind of fiction I was reading in there was historical.
Yeah, that's Bernard Cornwell. Yeah. Oh, those are good books, man.
You know what's funny? Actually, you may have turned me on to that. You told me the story of it. Like you said to me, if you could find the books, like you're going to love this. And I hit Lewisburg, and I said to my cellie, I'm like, hey, man, you got anything to read? He's like, I got the whole Saxon series. I mean, it's like, I had my little property sheet with that written right on it. I'm like, you got the whole set. And I've told this story before, but I start reading, right? And I can't stop. I'm cooking. And he's cooking me coffee, right? With a fire on the ground, right? Holding a milk carton over the fire. And after my second cup of coffee, I'm reading. I hop down. I go over to use the restroom. I use it. Hop back up on the bed, right? And I lay back. I go. Start sitting up. He's like, you all right, dude? I go, no, man. He's like, what's wrong? I go, dude, my Johnson's on fire, bro. Like, I don't know what happened. He goes, oh, all the books in here have been pepper sprayed about 25 times, man. He's like, you really got to wash your hands before you use the restroom. And I go, is that why you made me 2 cups of coffee? And he goes, yeah, they did it to me too. And I thought, what a jerk off, dude. I wouldn't do that to somebody for laughs. And then like 6 months later, when that dude left, I got a new cellie in, and he's like, you got anything to read? Do I? Can I make you a cup of coffee? Oh, I did it.
But dude, I was thinking while you were telling the book story, and this is gonna sound crazy. There's no better feeling than being in the shoe, because it's pretty stress free in the shoe, even though you're locked down 24 hours a day. We're 23. It's pretty stress free, so you don't have to worry about anything that's gonna happen on the yard or happen to you, or you're not dope sick. You're not high waiting to be dope sick, which, as soon as you get high, you're suffering because God, I'm gonna have to get more. But there's no better feeling than after you like do a little workout, take a shower, and get up on your bunk with a good what better feeling is that, where you just lay back and you're like, yes, man.
Especially
you're in a good book. You're in a good book, and it's oh man, it is a great feeling. And I almost feel guilty for feeling so good about that feeling.
No, I love it.
It's a great feeling, man.
Well, that's how I tell this story. I know people think that this is, I'm making this up. This is exactly what happened. I'd been in prison. I'd done 2 prison sentences, and I had done them in the Spoon, and I had done them out on the yard, and like in the mix of everything going on. If somebody was making booze, I was in there. Anything they were doing to break the rules, I was in the middle of gambling, drugs.
Yeah.
And when I fell the last time, and I knew I was going back in front of the same judge, and he said to me, the next time I see you, I'm going to give you the long play. I'm going to give you the LP, right? You're never going to get back out of prison. So I'm sitting in there, and no joke. So on the rug, that's what they call it there. That's where the television is. It's where you wait to get sent to the unit or to go out on bail. But it's like when you're first in booking. And I'm sitting on there, and they put on A Bronx Tale. And that scene where he
Great
says,
movie.
how did you get through, what did you do in prison? He said, there's only 3 things you can do in prison. You can lift weights, right? You can play cards, you can cause trouble. And he goes, yeah, which one did you do, Sonny? He said, I read books. And I remember thinking that day, man, I'm going to have a nice long rip. Like this isn't going to be a 3-year rip. They're going to break me off. And I started reading books. I didn't look at a television set. Like I gave all that up, and I just got really, really into reading. And it really is life-changing, especially for inmates. And what's funny is you find the people in there that are on the same time. Like you and I, we talked about book after book after book. And it was like you would read one and throw it down to me, and I would bust that thing out. And, it gave you something to talk about. It's a very weird world, right? You don't have television. If you don't have television, you don't have newspapers, right? You got a radio, so you get 30 minutes of news, a day. Little 5-minute news breaks. It was a weird thing to be locked up, especially in a slammed unit. 23-in-1 units are. But you're right. There's a lot less stress unless you got a hump roommate. If your cellie is a piece of crap, dude, it is the hardest thing in the world to do that kind of time. Like you just got to wreck the dude. I know that probably is.
No, I was just going to say that. You just got to wreck him.
Instantly.
And just get him out of there. Get him out of there. Yeah. Yeah.
Would I rather be feared or loved? First, let me answer this one. What do you think of the latest push for a mistrial because the prosecution involvement in the search of Diddy's cell? The cells inside have been searched since they first created the cell. This is something that has been litigated and relitigated. If that had been written clearly across the top, legal, but it wasn't. When the pictures were taken of the search of the cell, that wasn't there. And we know this because not only did we see that come out in court, but we heard Subromanian admonish the defense and say, if you're going to represent to me that something is a specific way, it damn well better be a specific way. So I think that this isn't going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Would I rather be feared or loved? You mean in the real world? I'd rather be loved. I don't want
any day of the week.
This is something that I've talked about before, but if you've ever done time, especially if you're a guy, you've had to go and sit in a room where free staff is going to come in to work with you. It's going to be a psychologist. It's going to be someone who's trying to become a shrink or whatever. And they're going to sit down and you're going to see fear in their eyes. They're going to look at you because you are a convict. You're a convicted felon. They're going to sit down across from you and they're going to be scared. And that look of fear in someone's eyes is the absolute shittiest experience on planet Earth. It's not something that I can describe, but it is the worst feeling on earth. And it's not your fault. It's probably the 40 convicts she saw earlier that week, right? At least one of whom whipped their junk out or did something else that was just abhorrent. But that look of fear that people see will make you wish that that you picked a different line of work, right? At a younger age. It's depressing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that. And I've been both fear and loved. And I absolutely love, even in like in a prison setting. First of all, I feel like you can't trust people that fear you, because if I'm living in fear, I might start to plot. You know what I mean? And I feel like if people love you, you can trust them more. Yeah, I mean, not that I haven't been betrayed by someone who I felt loved me and I love them. But definitely, yeah, I feel like people will start plotting on you if they fear you too much. Like, I guess it just depends if they fear you physically or I don't know.
Yeah. Cat Dam says the defense is saying now they have proof. The prosecution have an inside man. Well, I'd be shocked as crap if they didn't. You kidding me? You know how many people in that unit are trying to give them information on Diddy? Right? I would be blown away if there weren't 5 or 6 people that are inside people that are telling them everything that's going on in there. And that's any intake unit. That's any place waiting. These people all have a case hanging over their head. And when you hear someone say, well, they cut a deal, the deal doesn't have to be about what you were doing. You could be in there for drug dealing, but you hear some idiot come off the street. This is a true story. When I was in for the pew-pews, no, I'm sorry. When I was in for the bank robberies, I'm sitting in there and this kid they called Red hair, right? Little goatee, comes in from the street. And I knew Red from the street, not like but I always saw him around the same parks where I was copping dope because he was one of those dudes. So he comes in and he goes, oh, man, dude. He goes, I'm going away for the rest of my life. I said, dude, take a deep breath. Man, shut up. Maybe don't talk to everybody about what you got going on, right? It's dangerous. I go into my room. I'm reading a little book. I come back out, and he's telling the story of how he stabbed a dude to death 4 hours earlier. And there's like 5 guys at the table just like taking notes. And I took the kid aside, and I said to him, I don't know which one of those guys is going to get the deal, but one of them is gonna rat you out. I'm just telling you right now. And the crazy thing is they all did. They literally all did. Every one of them called their attorney and said, hey man, this dude just confessed to they all are trying to figure out a way to get out of trouble. I promise you. And yeah, I'd be really surprised if there aren't a lot of people in there that are giving info, but they took pictures. By the way, there's nothing wrong with having an inside man. You understand that? From the court standpoint, what do they care? That's just called a confidential informant. They love those people. They don't have a problem with those. They give them good deals.
Yeah, that might be something to ask old boy if I get a chance to talk to him again.
Yeah, that would be a great question to ask him. It's funny too. What's funny is I saw a couple of videos that people were making today talking about him, being on a living watch again. And the funniest thing, people, as that stuff starts to come out, listen to how they describe, right, what that is. If he's on the watch, he's in a room where one wall is glass, right? Where the door should be is glass from floor to ceiling. It's not even like there's a window. It's glass. And there's going to be a person in a chair like this for 4 hours. And then somebody's going to replace that dude. He's going to sit in the chair. There's going to be 2 eyes on that dude 24 hours a day. That's not happening. It sounds good, but it's not happening.
No, I know. I seen something too. I was just like, this dude's lying right now.
Do you believe everything Ali Carter and that Ali Carter says and that Jaguar Wright said? I believe that both of them have survived some pretty incredible stuff.
Who's Ali Carter?
Ali Carter is a young woman who has talked a lot about. She's a survivor of trafficking, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Some of the stories that have come out concerning the things like the tunnels that have a Starbucks in them, right? And some of the huge setups that are involved with the human T. I don't believe some of that stuff, and that does not mean that I think the girl's a liar. I think that when you start getting given stuff like GHB and they're smuggling you from one place to another, I think maybe she ended up in a Starbucks at some point. There's no Starbucks in a tunnel anywhere in this country. Nobody dropped $1 million on a
no.
Yeah. I mean, on
That's
a
dumb.
franchise to put.
Why would they need a Starbucks? They could pay some dude just to make
and all
them
of
coffee.
those. Look, every time you add one more person to a conspiracy, right, the odds of you getting caught go through the freaking roof. It's just how it works. There's going to be somebody that gets bummed out and loses their job. With that kind of an operation, the first person that decides they're not working there anymore, and you're in real trouble. Or do you bump off every single person? And how do you say to a person, well, we got you a job. You're working at Starbucks. This Starbucks, however, is going to be in a tunnel where people are smuggling kids. And I'm not sure, you know what I mean? It defies logic. Now, that doesn't mean that weird stuff didn't happen, but I just can't see it. Sorry.
Yeah. I seen like the last 20 minutes of a JD Delay live yesterday, and he had a girl on that had been sex trapped, ST'd.
Yeah.
And she was amazing. She's doing like an awareness thing, just talking about like, just the things to look for with your kids and like the kind of information you put online, what apps to use and not to use, how to like keep your phone safe. She was amazing.
You don't get a RICO case with one person, Jellycats. There's going to be many other people listed in the RICO case, and we're going to start to hear those names on the first day of February. We're going to see them put up the depth chart, just like you see with gangsters, and it's going to have the names at the top, and it's going to be the people below, and it's going to tell you what those people did. We're going to see that happen. I want to believe Jag. I really like her, but have seen her admit things in interviews that are not very nice. But I still like her, but still stand off a bit. I've done some things in my past that are not things I'm proud of, and I've been pretty open and pretty honest about that. I've always been real honest. There are things that I believe Ali's a trafficking victim. I don't doubt that for a second. I don't. I just don't believe that there are tunnels with Starbucks in them. Does not mean I'm questioning that person was trafficked. I question some of the details, and I'll tell you something. And you guys can all get mad at me, but when a child is taken and tortured, which is what this is, very often the brain, to deal with it, to cope with it, will fracture. It literally will do what it has to do to survive. And memories sometimes can get hammered.
Oh, yeah.
Get reassembled. And I'm not doubting. I am
It's
not
happened to me
doubting.
before.
Me too.
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot on the boat. I can pass a lie detector test for where I was during a certain period of time, and I wasn't there. I wasn't even in that state. But I'm 100% sure it happened, even after I'd been proven that it couldn't have.
I think of I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think of stories all the time, and I'll be like telling someone or telling my wife about it, and I'll be like, yeah, we're gonna call my brother right now, and I'll call him, and he'll be like, dude, that's not how that happened.
Right.
He's like, this was like this, and I'm like, what do you mean? But in my head, dude, I'm like, I know that's what in big stuff, not just like a time or a date or a place,
No,
like
I got you.
people that were there and like whose house we were at, or like you know, something major. And I'm just like, man, that is crazy that my brain can do that. And this is all pre-prison stuff, you know, stuff from like,
Yeah.
or like in that last year of when I was an addict before prison. Well, I was only an addict a year before I went to prison, but I don't know, crazy.
I respect the counselors more than you could possibly imagine. It's an incredibly, incredibly difficult job. And these people don't end up fearing us because they're bad people. They end up fearing us because they have to deal with the worst of the worst. And for every Casper, right, there's 5 or 6 people that are just so horrific in how they treat people that it causes them to be afraid of all of us. But what's amazing is from time to time, you will meet somebody in that job and they look at you like you might be the governor, and there is no expression at all in their face. They don't judge you. They don't do anything. And those people will change your life. They don't come around very often. But they're pretty impressive. I love counselors. If she gets mad, said out of her mouth, she says things to get the interview demonetized on purpose, and don't feel it's right to other podcasts. But it's all. But you are right, Tommy. I am very, very picky. Yes, I'm doing Night Yard tomorrow night, to be sure. I'm very selective with the people that I have on my channel. And there are big names that I've had the opportunity to get on this channel and I haven't, because I don't want to platform anybody I'm not sure of. I like being on other panels with people. I like asking people questions. I have platformed people in the past and then felt stupid afterwards for doing it. Like Casper, I'm not worried about. You know what I mean? But to get into the I'm not worried about you club is probably a tough thing to do. I'm glad that I've got some people that I really trust.
That's cool, brother.
It's hard to get into. Yeah. And yeah, those people are way underpaid, to be sure. They are way underpaid. There was a doctor. Good night, Tony. I thought you were saying good night. Yes, I will keep the crew tight. I promise you. I don't want this to get out of control. I really don't. You know, the last thing, there's so much room for this to go boom, right? It just has the and I'm talking about the Diddy verse in general. Do you understand? There was so much. If you believe that the Chris Todd and Courtney Burgess book was a con, then it is the perfect example of what can happen in this environment. There's so much. There's so much. I don't know what the right word is. There's too much cash that people want to spend to find out more about this. There's not much that people wouldn't do to get more info, and we got to be careful because people start making stuff up. It's one of the things that happen, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to the mods. Yeah, that's a great shout out.
Always.
What do you think?
I love your mods.
That's
what I think about
Eileen Bradley. What a great comment. That's a great comment.
It's hard to stay on topic when your brain has been hardwired to keep you from fully. Yeah.
A lot of these people, the very act of their what turned them into a victim in the first place has rewired their brain and made it very difficult for them to come out and talk about that in a way that is concise and clear and to stay on topic. And I get that. I really, really do. I get that. Thank you, Jordan. I'm pretty proud of the people that I have on this show. I really am. I'm very, very proud of the people that I have on my show. You are going live tonight, are you not? You saw it?
Me?
Yeah.
I was going to, but it's.
You don't have a man in your family.
I just worked. First, I don't have the videos I wanted to show tonight up and ready to go right now. I might though. I'll take a shower and see how I feel. See what's going on in the family room.
See how far the man has come, people. He's showering now. I mean, it's a hell of a start.
But I want to start doing something every Saturday night.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
I love that idea. then you should definitely fire it up. If you don't do it tonight, you should fire it up next Saturday, and I will stop by and help you get the inaugural. You can't do
That would be great. That would be great.
You can't do it
I
on account of the fact that we do Night Yard on Sundays.
Yes.
I love that. I love that program. And you know what? We're getting a lot of really good feedback on Night Yard. I love that it's taken off and that people are digging it. It's a yeah, you definitely want to go over and check out the merch. We got some really funny shirts over there now.
I wonder if we should make Night Yard its own channel at some point.
I would not at all be adverse to that. That could be fun.
Yeah. And then we could do interviews.
Good, Michelle. What's up?
Then we could do interview other convicts, or I mean, there's already a bunch of channels doing that, but
yeah, but it would be different just because we're so damn cool. I said it.
No, that's so true, man.
You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
Anybody can be a convict, but to get.
And I think there's booking agents out there that can book people too.
We actually have a pretty decent booking agent. I got a person that's been doing this forever. I didn't know how. I've told the story a million times. I got a call way back in the day out of the blue. This is how it started with Surviving the Survivor. I got a call out of the blues. An email. Guy says, "Hey, you need to call me right now. I got you booked for Tuesday at whatever." And I'm like, "What is this?" So I called the person. He's like, "Yeah, I was able to get you on the show. You're going to be on Tuesday." I'm like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Your agent. I got you booked." I went, "All right." That person has gotten me on like 5 shows. I've never asked anything from me. And what is the name of Casper's channel? Please put up a link to Casper's channel, people. That's just downright awful. That would be Legal Live Wire News.
I am going to get inside. I have another channel called Inside the Mind. But I don't. There's no content on it yet. I'm that's the one I'm going to do interviews where I'm going to talk to convicts and addicts and just ask them like, what was going on in your life before you did your first crime or you did your first drug? Like what was your thinking? I just want to like do it from like that first point. And then how it changed and then how you got better.
I think that's a great idea, man. I really
and not like a soft white underbelly where it's like, man, yeah, you're look how bad you are. No, I don't want that. Well, he doesn't only do that. He does do people that aren't like just full blown in their addiction still.
Jordan, don't listen to anybody in NA because they're screwing up, right? It's not their fault. They just don't know any better. Forgive them. But you're 7 years clean. The rest of that, don't do butt. The hell's butt? You're 7 years clean. God bless you. That is freaking awesome. Good for you. No butts.
Yeah.
No butts.
And methadone's great.
Yeah. You're getting the job done. You're good to go. I'm proud of you. And I mean that. All right. Now I'm going to have to go, people, because I just can't stay in the seated position any longer. It's why I haven't done shows last night or today. My back has just been off the hook.
You've been on like 5 shows today.
Yeah, I didn't do any on the lifeboat. And I only watched for a very short period of time.
While I was tattooing, I did watch Chase the Heat too. That was good. Super good.
That was a good show, wasn't it?
Well, I was covered in blood and ink, so I couldn't touch my phone or anything. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
People with Tommy, with Diddy in jail, the feds are the ones to investigate. So the Tupac murder, so Keefy D just there's a new letter. We'll be going over it. But so Keefy D is really implicating Diddy in this, and why wouldn't he? I mean, you talk about good timing. I mean, holy hell, dude!
Perfect,
he's never been happier in his life. He's gonna spoon feed them. I got to be honest with you. I'm sure that Diddy wanted them dead, but I don't think that's the story. However,
did you see that motion his lawyer did with the it's an illegal prosecution because none of the other people are alive? That was a great argument.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's a legit argument.
Everybody
that's in the car is gone except KPD.
Yeah, because none of those guys can say they can't defend themselves.
No.
or something like that. The way, man, it was a great argument.
What they've done is they had all of this info all the way back then, but they wait for everybody to die to do it, so that in essence he can no longer. It is a legit argument. How do you defend yourself if you waited until all my witnesses are dead? It's a pretty good argument. I'm sorry, it really is. It's a pretty good argument.
Yep, and they had all the information and
of that.
Sorry, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big things are happening. All right, I'm going to go and stand up and walk around. And if you go live, I'll probably pop in on my phone. And if you don't, I'll just mock you and say you haven't got a man in your family. Because that's how I get down.
Well, I probably will, but it won't be for like an hour or so.
Okay.
Yeah. But if people have notifications turned on and they're awake, I mean, I know a lot of the lifeboat probably don't stay up too late. I don't know. Maybe everyone just is 24 hours a day.
Oh, I'll tell you something too. You're going to catch the fan base that we've got in Europe. We got a lot of people from the Atwood program, so they love it when we go live. The closer we get to midnight, the more closer it is to 8 o'clock in the morning over there. And it's a great crew. It's like doing a morning show. I love it.
Oh,
I really do.
Wow, yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Yep, cool. All right, guys.
All right.
She is a rock star, man.
She gets a lot done, and she does it at a speed that makes no sense to me. I think she may be AI. I'm not 100% sure.
She's like the Jamie of Joe Rogan, but we don't have her look up stuff.
Shannon Trim wrote, "I'm a night owl."
She's a great producer, though.
And I read, "I'm Night Owl." I'll tell you something. I knew a homeboy in prison that they called Night Owl, but just look at the kid he's hugging. But there's no way he could be out by now. So, all right, folks. I really do appreciate you. I do need Reese to help me with my back. That's not even a joke, and she would. All right, people, we will see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. God bless.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. You are a gentleman.